Hello, everybody, and welcome to another playoff edition of High School Roundup here on CUTV. I'm your host, Colin Kirkwood, with a new mystery panelist. Da-na-na-na. It's Danny. And also, of course, over here on the other side, we've got Devin and Dylan. And guys, playoffs? We're talking about playoffs.
Yeah, we are, and it's been an exciting playoff season. A lot of upsets so far this year. We'll get to those in the schedule, but definitely it's been one of the more memorable playoffs so far.
Yeah, a hard-hitting playoff. Started off strong and certainly is going to end strong as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned it best, Dylan. You were talking about those upsets. That's what we're really looking to key in upon because of the fact that all of the pick'ems were a little bit interesting this week with a lot of people. I thought I was an easy write-in. A few of the names. I don't want to spoil anything, but a few of the names I was like, yeah, of course they're going to win, and they didn't.
Perennial favorites, year in and year out, have lost this past week. So who knows who comes out on the champion of these WPIAL divisions. I mean, there are some exciting matchups this week and could be some exciting championship games next week for the 5A and 2A as well.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those pick'ems here in a little bit. But first, let's jump right on into these 2A scores for the WPIAL playoffs for 2018. Southside Beaver picking up the win over Shadyside, 32-16. This was one that a lot of people didn't see coming. And, of course, the revenge for Steel Valley is oh so sweet, winning 39-7 over Washington.
Yeah, very interesting score there with Southside Beaver, the 8th seed, getting the win over Shadyside. Shadyside, a team that a lot of people projected to make it far and to run into a collision course there with Steel Valley, but that's not going to be the case. So that's going to set up an interesting next couple weeks here for 2A. Southside Beaver, we'll get to who they're playing next, but they could be falling next week to a tough team that we cover a lot.
Moving forward here, Mohawk takes the loss to local Charleroi 42-13, and Freedom picking over the barn burner win 7-6 over Burgettstown. And Dylan, you're really excited about Charleroi, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely excited about Charleroi. We'll let you guys talk more about that because I'll be able to have my time to talk about Charleroi come looking at the playoff. But Burgettstown was a team that a lot of people were wondering why they get the 1 seed. And you're seeing exactly why people were wondering that, losing 7-6 to Freedom. A lot of questions around that Burgettstown team, so they fall there to Freedom. So very interesting 2A playoffs.
Yeah, this Charleroi team, though, you said that we were going to touch on it a little bit later too, but just we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that they were going to come in. Now we're looking at the bracket, and Charleroi is a team that I think is going to go far. And I mean, looking at the Steel Valley and Washington game, Steel Valley is going to go far too. Honestly, you could possibly see them meeting up.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to say here. Steel Valley versus Freedom, that's going to be, you don't want to say write a victory in, but Steel Valley, I mean, they're just too big of a powerhouse for Freedom to compete with.
And then we can take a look at the other side of the bracket here for the other matchup. There's Southside Beaver and Charleroi. Perhaps maybe we'll send somebody out to get some footage highlights, any kind of thing like that for that game here. We talked about it, not sure. Keep with our social media channels for that. In the meantime, let's move into...
Well, that's games at Cannon Mac, so definitely if you're in the area, that's one of the local games. Charleroi is our only local team left, so definitely get the chance to go see them. And like you mentioned, we may be getting people going to film highlights or pictures there as well, so definitely stay tuned for CUTV on Twitter for more updates.
Yeah, you never know. Let's take a look at the 1A playoff scoreboard here. Rochester picking up the surprising 27-0 shutout of Jeanette, and Olsh beating Clareton 27-7. I don't think anybody saw Jeanette getting shut out in the playoffs here, guys.
You were talking about the perennial powerhouses with Jeanette and Clareton in the open, and both of them losing. You can see that in the same graphic. Rochester just flexing their muscle over Jeanette, because you would think that this Clareton team, they have experience. Jeanette has experience, and right now they just dropped the ball.
Yeah, Jeanette is a team that we saw score a lot of points this season, and to see them get shut out 27-0 is something that not a lot of people looked for. But looking at Olsh and Clareton, 27 seems to be the number for upsets here because 2 in a row.
Yeah, definitely. And Jeanette, we saw them the week before against Monessen. They struggled in that game. We thought maybe that's just a one-hit wonder. Maybe they'll bounce back the next week. But no, they fall tough defeat to Rochester.
Yeah, moving into the brackets here for our single A playoffs championship weekend in this division here, Rochester and Olsh from Heinz Field on Saturday, so that will be an interesting one.
I still think it's rough for California with that whole three-way tie up at the top, and they just pulled the Clareton. Still, because of the fact that we could have seen, if California's matched up against Their West Green, Rochester. It always seems like California's matched up against Rochester in that first round, and just pulled a bad card on that one. So I know I haven't been on for a little bit, so I didn't get my chance to really talk about that much. But yeah, that's still rough for them because of the fact that they were a tough team. And, you could have seen them go far as well.
Who would have thought Ocean Rochester in the 1A
Exactly.
with the Nets, the Claretons, Del Monte Christians, but nonetheless, that's the matchup we're getting. Osh 3 years removed from a 0-win season, so definitely cool for them. That's something that we do need to hit on there. Osh, they've been building that program back up, and now they're getting their chance to play for Whipple Championship at Heinz Field. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
It'll be a great day of action there on Saturday, but now we can take a look at the 3A playoff scores here. North Catholic and Derry, and if you didn't hear anything about this game, it was absolutely wild. North Catholic had the lead with 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter and somehow managed to let Derry come back into the game and win 36-29. And then textbook down there at the bottom, Aliquippa 42-14, getting the victory over Beaver Falls. But North Catholic Derry, what a game.
That's a game that we all thought North Catholic, after losing to Derry earlier in the season on a roll, we thought, man, this is going to be some revenge time for North Catholic. We saw them really hit their cylinders going against Elizabeth Ford earlier in the season. But no, Derry comes back, gets the win, and Derry's a team that could surprise a lot of people here in this 3A bracket.
Yeah, Derry being with Justin Flack in the backfield there, it's hard to stop them. They can score at any time, any place, and their defense isn't that bad either. So only giving up 29 points against this North Catholic team, offensive powerhouse, something to look forward to in the rest of this playoff.
Let's take a look at the 3A bracket here. Derry making their first appearance at Heinz Field since changing their name. Very exciting for them, taking on Aliquippa. It's going to be a battle of David versus Goliath here, seeing a perennial powerhouse taking on the little team that could.
And, well, it could be interesting, though. Aliquippa lost to Central Valley in the last week of the regular season. Derry defeated Central Valley in the first round of the playoffs. So, again, it's one of those things you never know. Aliquippa still, they're perennial power, but their first year without their usual coach there, as he's now the coach of Ringgold, Coach Semantic. So, definitely something to look forward to. Definitely, like you said, though, Aliquippa should be the favorite by far in this game. But can Derry get an upset? You mentioned the talent they have in the backfield. Could they get it done?
Yeah, and I think here at Heinz Field, too, if Derry lost to North Catholic, that would have set up North Catholic and Aliquippa, two powerhouses, going at it. So maybe we're seeing a little bit less of a matchup because of the fact that you're talking about Aliquippa and Beaver Falls, but a few years ago, that would have been a great matchup as well. So this Aliquippa and Derry team, I think that's really going to be a defense against an offensive-minded Derry team.
It's going to be exciting indeed here, and make sure we're going to take a quick break, so make sure you stick around for 4A scores and brackets, 5A and 6A. You're watching High School Roundup here on CUTV.
High school football is back on CUTV. Brownsville versus Bentworth. Upper Dauphin versus Millersburg. Charleroi versus Fraser. California versus Washington. Bell Vernon versus Greensburg-Salem. Elizabeth Ford versus North Catholic. Carmichaels versus Union. Ringgold versus West Mifflin. Beth Center versus Fraser. Catch all the action on your home for high school football. CUTV, California University Television.
Welcome back, everybody, to High School Roundup here on CUTV. Another week of playoff action, and it's been great so far. We jumped into A, Double A, Single A. Now we can take a look at 4A, guys.
Yeah, definitely exciting 4A. So let's jump right into those. This is one of the last games that will be at Heinz Field here with 4A and 6A. So definitely championship time here in the Whippeal.
Let's go ahead and dive on into these 4A scores now for you. Bell Vernon taking the loss to South Fayette 28-10. South Fayette really showing why they're one of the powerhouse teams here in 4A. And Will anybody stop Thomas Jefferson? Blackhawk couldn't as TJ gets the win 47-7.
Yeah, Bell Vernon, just hard to see them go. I was rooting for them this whole playoff run. I'm going to have to go root with Derry this time. But no, Bell Vernon was my team for this playoff, and it's hard to, have your starting quarterback get hurt, and right when you're going into the playoffs and have a good chance to go far, and now Mason Pasco can't take all the weight. So South Fayette is a good team, and they will go far in the playoffs.
Devin touched on it just because of the fact that Jared Hartman, the guy that really led this team, can't go against Mason Pasco, though. Mason Pasco can only do so much for his team. And Jared Hartman, the quarterback, if he goes out later on in the season, you mentioned I believe it was the last week of
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So you carried their team, and then all of a sudden you're out. Yeah. So that has to take a hard hit to the locker room as well.
Yeah, definitely. But South Fayette and Thomas Jefferson, that's a matchup that people expected from really week 1 of the season. They're the two powerhouses here in 4A. So it's going to be probably the most exciting matchup on Saturday at Heinz Field will be this game right here, Thomas Jefferson, South Fayette. I mean, it could be a high-scoring affair between those two teams.
Yeah, it's going to be something to look forward to here. We can see how that charts out on the 4A bracket. There you see it, South Fayette, Thomas Jefferson, another Heinz Field matchup. Exciting for both of them to make an appearance there. Playing on definitely a field of dreams here in Western PA.
Definitely a field of dreams. And South Fayette, Bell Vernon, Bell Vernon wanted that second chance to go against Thomas Jefferson, especially after what happened last year. They defeated them in the regular season, lost to them in the playoffs. They wanted that rematch, but like Danny mentioned, with an injury to the quarterback, that was really one of our few local teams. Charleroi and Bell Vernon were our two local teams still playing here. So we're rooting for you, Bell Vernon. Sorry you can't get the win. And what a career for Mason Pasco, like you guys mentioned. I mean, he is one of the all-time greats there at Bell Vernon, especially at the running back position. It's sad to see that his season come to an end.
He is an animal back there at running back, but what's the next step? You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that's speedy out of the backfield, catch out in the flat, and make some space for himself to work with. I think that he's going to go on to the next level, but I'm not sure where. You see a lot of these talents around here, at least if they're not going to go D1, you see them stick around at the Robert Morris schools like that. So, I mean, hopefully he has a great career after this because of the fact that he's pulled a bad card, with Jared Hartman going out. But, they can only do so much with Mason Pasco.
Could be seeing him here on CUTV in a PSAC game soon.
Definitely.
So definitely.
You never know.
Remember that name, Mason Pasco. Could be seeing him definitely on Saturdays here on CUTV.
Yeah, definitely keep him in the back of your mind. In the meantime, let's check out the 5A scores. Penn Trafford and Peters Township. It was quite a contest here. Township gets the win 38-35. And another great matchup at the bottom here. West Allegheny getting the win over Woodland Hills 14-13.
Yeah, last year coaching probably there for Coach Palco of West Allegheny. He's had a couple close games the first 2 rounds. I mean, West Allegheny is known for their defense and just controlling games. That's what they were able to do against Woodland Hills. But Danny, we're talking a little bit about Peters Township. That's your team there in Peters Township there. Not your alumni, but you're a big fan of Peters Township. But nonetheless, they got a big win over Penn Trafford there.
Yeah, Casilli for Peters Township. He's the quarterback. Gets out of the pocket, can make some throws on his back foot. So that's really why they led. That game was a solid game, 38-35. That's what you want to see out of a playoff matchup. And, Peters Township just getting the better of Penn Trafford.
Here we see Franklin Regional taking a loss to Gateway, 35-0. Pretty much textbook there as well. McKeesport falling to Penn Hills, 34-7. Penn Hills stays undefeated on the season.
Yeah, those two teams appear to be on a collision course. Still an extra week of play in the playoffs here for 5A, but Penn Hills Gateway, guys, I mean, let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets here because that's a collision course between those two teams as Gateway plays against West Allegheny there this week. But those two teams, they've been looking at each other most of the season as the two of the best teams. Even in 6A, you could even compare them, Gateway and Penn Hills.
I think that's just as good of a matchup, though, with West Allegheny. I think that both of these teams obviously have power. They're this far into the playoffs, right? You know what I mean? So
right.
I think that Gateway, though, just because of their dominance, that's Colin's team. I think that the dominance that they have, I think, will carry them over West Allegheny, too. But this game, I believe this game is played at Norwin, you said, correct?
Yeah, I believe.
Right,
So
I think so, yeah.
Kind of stinks. We were talking about that in the break.
Well, the championship, that's what we want to talk about there for 5A, is at Norwin. And, we have a little time here in the show, maybe talk about it here now. But it is sad for the players as they've worked hard that 6A, 4A, 3A, and 1A all get to play at Heinz Field. And that's really WPIAL players' dream, to play at Heinz Field, get your opportunity to play where the NFL players play. 5A and 2A, they don't get that chance. 5A plays at a high school in Norwood, and 2A plays at Robert Morris. So definitely, you mentioned it, it's sad for the kids. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You play your whole life from youth football on, wanting to play at Heinz Field, and you get that chance robbed just because of what division you're in, what class. I don't really understand that.
Let's see the right side really quick, and then you can pick right back up here. There's the Penn Hills, Peters Township matchup, the battle of the Indians here. Both Indians, of course, not the best Indians, Millersburg, just saying, but anyway.
Yeah, it is sad, and Danny and I were talking about it too. I mean, you'd think that maybe 1A and 2A would be the two teams, two divisions that get left out, but it's 5A with, you mentioned it, Penn Hills and Gateway. They're two of the best teams in the whole entire state.
Yeah.
And they're going to play their WPIAL championship at a high school.
I know.
I just don't quite understand that.
I think that the only consolation, so their championships at the high school, at Norwood High School, where you'd see, I believe Robert Morris is the other site of location. So, that's not that bad because Robert Morris still has a little bit of a draw, and especially for a lot of these high school athletes, they go on to the next level. That's like kind of a recruiting tactic that that schools can use, but not to play at a high school, not at a Norwood High School. That's a little bit different. I obviously never been to Norwood High School, so maybe it's a crazy venue. Maybe it's a venue that has
we might not know.
a lot of power, but it's still that draw away from Heinz Field, that kind of, I guess, that
Nothing
motivation,
compares to Heinz here
that
in the West
motivation
Virginia.
to play. Yeah, exactly. For a lot of these teams, they watch these NFL athletes playing on Sunday, and then they're like, oh, we're not going to be playing there this year. So it's that switch up's kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
Yep, you heard it here first. WPIAL, you've triggered Dylan G'day. Shame on you. But anyway, let's check out 6A scores here next. Mount Lebanon and Pine Richland. Pine Richland flexing their muscle, 46-16 here. No one really surprised by that one. And the magical team here, Seneca Valley, wins 31-14 over North Allegheny.
Upset alert. North Allegheny, I believe they're undefeated there, and they fall to Seneca Valley. They were already defeated Pine Richland this season, has North Allegheny, and then to lose Seneca Valley. What I was reading about this game, though, Seneca Valley's defense has been incredible of late. Shutting down Central Catholic last week, shutting down North Allegheny, holding them to 14 points. Maybe the old saying still holds true here. Defense wins championships, and that could be what we're seeing there from Seneca Valley.
And Pine Richland, I think, is undefeated as well.
Pine Richland lost to North Allegheny this season.
Okay,
so
okay, and and their opening game against IMG, but
Yeah.
I'm just going back to that. They've been on a tear ever since, so I don't expect anything.
Well,
really
Pine
to slow
Richland
down.
and North Allegheny played in the last week of the season there to really who would have the one seed, and North Allegheny won that game. So, can Seneca Valley slow down Pine Richland? That's going to be a hard test. Shutting down three of the best offenses in the WPIAL, and Central Catholic, North Allegheny, and Pine Richland in 3 back-to-back games. I mean, that's got to be one heck of a defense to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
It's a tall task. Let's take a look at the bracket here for 6A. There it is, Pine Richland, Seneca Valley, just continuing to roll forward. Seneca Valley, you have to be happy with the way you're playing here. Got to be completely honest with you, really hadn't heard too much about Seneca Valley until playoffs this year. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it could be the underdog season this year for high school playoffs because we've seen a lot of teams get upset, as you were talking about earlier, with 2A and 3A. But this 6A, Seneca Valley, they could shut down this Pine Richland team. They've beaten North Allegheny and they've beaten Central Catholic, two great offensive powerhouses. And you said it yourself, defense wins championships. So,
And that's that Pine Richland game early in their season against Seneca Valley, again, with 6A being so small, all these teams have already played each other once. So
Right.
with Seneca Valley playing Pine Richland, it was a close game, just like Seneca Valley's first game against North Allegheny. They could just be on a roll. I mean, I'm not letting you know my pick'em result as that's coming up later, but you could be surprised with my pick there in that game.
And that's all here for the recap of how things have gone for playoffs, but that doesn't mean you should change that channel or click away from this video because we still have the hometown standings. We've got the Pick'em standings and, of course, everyone's favorite segment of the week, the Pick'em games. So make sure you stay tuned here on CUTV.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Are you a visual storyteller? The Cal Times and CUTV is looking for students with an interest in expanding their skills in photography and videography. We call it visual journalism, and we're here to offer you opportunities to learn how to shoot and edit from a wide range of events at California University of Pennsylvania. Our focus is on local coverage of sports and news events from campus and around the region. We provide on-site training as we help you develop your skills as a visual multimedia storyteller for the Cal Times newspaper and CUTV News Center. To learn more about visual journalism opportunities and join our team, visit our media production facility in the Natali Student Center or email the Cal Times at caltimes@calu.edu.
Welcome back, everybody, to High School Roundup here on CUTV, another playoff edition here from the CUTV studio. It's time to jump on into the hometown standings here. We've got 3 teams still in action here. Steel Valley picking up the win over Washington. Conrad Weiser beating Gettysburg in overtime, I do believe. And Central Dauphin picked up a win as well, so all 3 are still alive.
Yeah, double overtime win over a nice Gettysburg team. Just shows the dominance that Conrad Weiser has in that division in the playoffs. Like, they can do whatever, especially behind the leader, Alex McKenzie. Everybody looks up to him, and he's a great leader and can go far in the playoffs this year.
Danny Central Dolphins still staying alive here after a bit of a rocky start to the season with a couple losses that people didn't really expect.
It was a rocky start, and I believe you said that they played Wilson last week, so that's always a big win. I know whenever we were in high school, Wilson was always a big matchup. I guess we're just going to go with Wilson. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, so I haven't really been following their season much far since that rocky start. There it is. Rocky start. I haven't been following them much at all, so I mean, it's good to see their success continue.
Steel Valley's at the top, but I'd say watch out for Charleroi if I was Stephen Ruffin there.
in the hometown standings too.
Yeah, sure, right in the hometown standings. They fit in perfect here, of course. Millersburg hasn't played in a while at club bottom. Same with Brownsville. You know the drill. Anyway, let's check out the pick'em standings here. Stevie High Roller in a heated battle for last place with the High School Roundup puppy. It's going to come down to this week to see who's going to get the coveted last place spot here. Bobby D and Twitter battling it out at the top. Danny, you're hanging around, and Dylan even has a chance to make a little bit of an impact here towards the last week of pick'ems.
I have no idea how that happened. I have zero.
Came back.
I know.
Came back strong.
I know. I have no idea how it happened. Like, it was one week I was down where Devin is, and then the next week I'm number 3. So I have no idea how that happened. I just lucky picks.
How about Bobby D just coming in, just running the show?
Really running our show here.
2-game lead. I mean, 4-game lead over actual human beings there, with losing to Twitter right behind him there. But Bobby D, huge shout out to you. Hope to have him on the show next week as well.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be here to help close us out and probably actually award him a trophy here if he ends up winning things here. Really not a lot of variety. 4-3, 3-4. You don't really see too much of a split between anybody on this list. But let's check out the first matchup for this week. Single A championship, Olsh versus Rochester. Danny, you're going with Olsh. Steve, Dylan thinking Rochester. I'm going Olsh. Devin, you've got Olsh too.
Yeah, Olsh is one of those teams where you can't really go against them, especially with this Rochester team kind of being a little iffy in the beginning of the season. But Olsh, I believe that they have a lot of weapons to advance.
And Dylan said it with three consecutive years, or 3 years out of a no loss or no win season. I think that's put a little chip on their shoulder. I think that they're going to continue this success in the playoffs, and I don't think Rochester's going to stop them.
They've definitely had a tough road through these playoffs. Amani Christian, Clareton, and now Rochester. I mean, that's a tough road to win a Whitfield championship. That's partially why I'm going with Rochester there. Rochester dominating performance the last 2 weeks against West Green, against Jeanette. I just think they continue and roll and get a Whitfield championship.
Yeah, he doesn't have the ground to burn like he did a couple of weeks ago, saying they can afford picks like that because, he's got so much ground ahead
I was
of us.
right up there with Bobby D. Don't forget, a couple weeks ago I was right up there towards the top, and I got a little complacent and lost that lead.
So we'll see how that happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's check out Double A here. We've got Southside Beaver and Charleroi, of course, our one local game remaining here. Steve and Danny going Southside Beaver, rest of the squad picking the Cougars.
Can't go wrong with Charleroi. Gino Pellegrini, big fan.
shocker.
Big fan of Gino Pellegrini, Coda Remontino, both those guys. I mean, they're coming on strong. I'm rooting for Charleroi. I'm rooting for them to get this win, get the win against Steel Valley, and get a Whitfield championship. And hopefully Stephen Ruffing and I will be at that Whitfield championship game, and I might have to brag a little bit against that Still Valley team.
All right, you were talking about Southside Beaver beating Shady Side. Shady Side was one of the best teams in this conference. So I think that they have what it takes to take down Charleroi. And I honestly, I wanted to go Charleroi. I really did. But it was your confidence with
You guys
all
just
of the
hate
team.
that I
makes
love
me sick.
Charleroi. You guys hate that I love
And
Charleroi.
listen, I'm one game up on you. Say you lose this game, that helps me. Hey, I'm thinking mind games still.
He's thinking
I'm thinking
ahead.
mind games.
Yep.
Devin, got any insight for this one, buddy?
Charleroi is just one of those teams where I couldn't go against. I've seen them play, and especially that McGuffey game, they asserted their dominance in their own division and got the first place. So I think that they can get themselves a WPO championship.
Check this one out. We've got Derry and Aliquip with a 3A championship game. A couple of people feeling confident in Derry. You, Danny. Steve's going with them too. Puppy down there making a bold pick, and Devin.
Yeah, this is my team. Derry is my team now. I claim them. It's my team.
This-
Justin Flack, great. Everybody in the backfield, great. The defense, amazing. They could put up some points against this Aliquippa team, especially without their coach. Now he's at Ringgold, so I think that they have a chance to get very far and maybe win a trophy.
This seems a little bit suspect here for Stephen Ruffing. Is this what I think it's going to be for the week? Is it going to be? Will it be somewhere that we need to go that it's warm? Nope, it won't be. Oh, man. Teasing me. But anyway, here, let's check out TJ and South Fayette. Dylan, literally the only one going with South Fayette. Explain yourself.
I'm on an island, boys. Don't check me there. This is South Fayette team. They have circled Thomas Jefferson all year. They're undefeated right now. They're gonna go in Thomas Jefferson, get the win at Heinz Field. High scoring game. This game it may end up 45-43, something like that. It's gonna be high scoring, really exciting. Be sure to tune in and watch that one.
Next up here for our pick'em matchups, Peters Township, Penn Hills. Penn Hills undefeated, of course. I'm going to go with them. So is Dylan. Danny's sticking with Peters Township. That's your dubbed team, according to Dylan here. So any explanation?
Wild move with that. No, wild move with that. No, I just think, I touched a little bit on the scoreboards with Peters Township and Cassilia with their quarterback. I think that they're going to take down Penn Hills. It's going to be a close matchup. I definitely don't think that it's going to be a blowout like we've been seeing on a lot of the other scoreboards, but I think that this one definitely is going to be a close matchup.
Let's check out our last matchup here. Pine Richland and Seneca Valley. Steve, I think this might be the one here.
Smell something.
It
Oh,
is
it is.
indeed. You have to go somewhere where it's warm here. Seneca Valley, he's riding the magic train the whole way to the end here, thinking they can dethrone the mighty champs in Pine Richland. And I think, Dylan, so do you.
Yep, defense wins championships. I agree with you, Steve. They're gonna get. I teased it earlier. Defense wins. They're gonna get the upset over Pine Richland, and Seneca Valley is going to be your WPO champion for 6A.
I think a lot of the picks though this week, Steve was tempting us. Excuse me, with the where it's warm. He was going with that.
Yeah.
So, but there was always one person that was going with him. You know what I mean? Now he has a travel companion.
Yeah, he's got trick buddies.
Yeah, he has a companion.
Load me up. I'll go to the beach next week. Let's go, Steve.
Yeah,
Maybe that's where they can move to Still Valley.
Let's go.
Charleroi game, move it away from Robert Morris.
take it to the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it to the beach. We
Not
got to
a bad
go
idea.
somewhere where it's warm. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here for another edition of High School Roundup. Next week will be our last edition of the semester here, as we'll wrap up all these championship games and just talk about the two remaining ones in 5A and 2A that are left. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us here. Thank you to everybody in the control booth that's helping us out. Thanks to Gary Smith, our director. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.